if you're not very good with prompting, your result can be really, really bad. And let's be honest, we know the patience that people have those days. If they try 3 things and none of them work, they're completely going to hate that tool forever. Look how loved SharePoint was over the ages, right? You're not going to talk to many people that love SharePoint only because they had 1 or 2 bad experiences. And it's a bit the same thing with Copilot right now. If people try the first 5 things and it doesn't do a good job, well, they're going to stop using the tool, and that's bad for everybody.
I've learned the hard way that trying to code with Copilot, not specifically Copilot, but one of the AI platforms, it starts to hallucinate commandlets. And it goes, this commandlet exists. And you're like, this does not exist, but like, stop using it. And then it will be like, okay, no problem. And then 2 prompts later, it throws that commandlet back in. And I'm like, where you show me your reference as to where you're getting this. And then it will go to some random YouTube video. And I'll be like, that is incorrect. That does not exist.
Not even training, I think anything that we're generating with AI, it still needs a human to look over it, check it. Even the code, the amount of incorrect code. I've been doing a lot of PMP PowerShell of late, and the old code that it throws you that just doesn't work. And you need someone to actually realize that this is the problem and work through the job.
Hello and welcome to 10 Ton Potato. I'm your host, Brady Holdeness, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Hi, everyone.
Craig.
How you doing?
Craig. And today we have a very special guest, Vlad.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here.
Vlad, we've known Vlad for years and years and years. We're actually trying to work out when the first time we met, and then when the last
sadly,
time.
It was complete coincidence, but the last time was this shirt that I'm wearing that I just happened to put it on this morning.
And
it's been a while.
I think the first time
22.
might have been in South Africa in 2016 when I spent a month there for the big SharePoint Saturday tour.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And we've been watching your progress over the years and loving it. Vlad, you kind of talk everywhere nowadays. You're saying that you're coming up to your kind of speakers time of year where you're going to be 2 months away from home.
Sure. So I love traveling. I love teaching others. So I love speaking at conferences. And you know how it is. After the summer break, it starts back up with everything starting in September. So September 12th, I'll be in LA for the community days. Then I'll be a week in Vegas for the Power Platform Conference, September 16 to 21. Something like that. Then 23rd, I think I'll be in Budapest for Experts Live Europe. Then back to home, Canada, for 1 day in Ottawa. And then South Korea towards the mid of October. And that's the next 2 months. And of course, I'll spend a little bit of extra time in South Korea. And I'll also visit my colleagues after Budapest. I'll go to Croatia to visit my Syskit colleagues and spend some time there. I've never been to Croatia, so excited.
I didn't hear that you're coming to Collab Days in South Africa in mid-October. Maybe you'll have to do that on the way through.
I wanted to, believe me, I wanted to. I have already committed to South Korea, so but next year, if you let me know a little bit more in advance, the dates and everything, I would love to come back. And like I said, I did apply for the AI Tour Johannesburg in January. So that really shows you that I really want to come back to South Africa. But I know October might be a bit better time of the year for South Africa than January, right?
Depends.
Well, January is going to be a stinker. It's super hot.
Yeah, but it's going to be minus 40 in Canada.
So it depends on what kind of weather.
I'm not sure. I think I'll prefer the heat.
What do you prefer? Is this true? So I heard in Canada, when you're a kid and it gets below 20 or 25, by law, they have to kick you outside for some time to feel the cold.
I'm sorry. That's just a story urban legend
that we've been sold. Okay. So when it's cold, you don't get kicked outside just to feel the cold.
You
feel the cold.
Poutine warms the soul. That You don't have to eat poutine. You eat it because you love it. But no, there's no laws about
Yeah.
staying inside, going outside. But something that is unique in Canada is that it's minus 40 outside. We just had 30 centimeters of snow overnight. Schools are still open. You still go to work. It's like nothing happened. So we're very resilient into stuff never gets shut down.
Yeah,
Basically.
we had a bit of rain last week in Cape Town, and they shut all the schools down. So it's crazy.
It's kind of funny, but they do have some days in the school calendar that are made for weather shutdown. So it's planned in the school calendar that they have a few days for snowstorms and things like that, just in case they have to close them. And if we get to the end of the winter and they haven't used them, they just take them for fun. They're like, hey, today, you know what? We'll take a
Oh,
weather
cool.
delay because, well, we have it planned. I might as well take them. Little vacation for everybody.
So there's so many conferences here. I can see one overlapping. So there's Collab Days in Bletchley Park in UK that is slap bang in the middle of the Experts Live in Europe. So Michael Knowles doing the Collab Days, and I see you doing the Experts Live. Because I was like, hey, hold on, why didn't I see that? And now I know why. Because I'm going to the Collab Days in
I'd love
Bletchley
to do
Park.
that one. That's the one in the
But
computer museum, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah, that's
that's
been on
right.
my list
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a
yeah.
while. It's just the timing. It's always timing, but again,
Yeah.
it's on my list. I'd love to go to it at some point.
We'll definitely have to make sure we get everyone together for that one next year. So, one thing that I'm going through your LinkedIn at the moment, and over the last 2 weeks or so, I've been noticing something. And I don't know if Tumi, if you can put this up on the screen while I talk, but there's a lot of Copilot going around, and you've taken it to another level. You've taken Copilot to the actual Copilot, and I need to ask you: did you actually rent a plane
So
to
we
get this
had
done?
an actual half of a 737. So from the full cockpit all the way to the end of business class, like a real one, like with the controls, everything, an actual plane that we recorded everything in. It was up in a building, so we're not in an airport or anything. It was in a building, but it was an actual half a
Okay.
plane that used to fly. And for some intro, we did have a bit of a 747. That was a full plane. We did have some shots of that from the outside, but most of the series was done from the cockpit of a 737.
And I mean, you've even got extras in here that are
I
sleeping in the
did.
plane at the same time.
So
Like,
that's the film crew. So basically, we had
No,
the
it's-
plane. So just for everybody that hasn't seen a bit of the LinkedIn series, to give you a bit of context, uh, the idea was to create the series around the summer of Copilot, and uh, I've seen so
Mm.
many people get their Copilot license and have no idea what to do with it. And they try a few things that they see on Microsoft as the examples, things like that, but they don't know how to actually use it. So I was like, I want to create some content around adoption around Copilot. And then I saw the plane available through like a Facebook recommendation. Like, I don't know, maybe I Googled too much Copilot stuff. And then I see a review about
Oh,
renting
yeah,
that
yeah.
plane and how fun it is. So it was completely random that I saw that on Facebook. I was like, wait, I can actually do that? So I look at the dates. It was right before the European Power Platform Conference. I was going to Brussels anyway. The plane was in Amsterdam, by the way. So I traveled all the way from Canada to
Oh,
Amsterdam
okay.
with the pilot uniform in my carry-on. I was I was a bit afraid what happens if they ever check my bag at security and they're like, "Why do you have a full
Yeah.
pilot
What's happening
uniform
here?
in your backpack?" But anyway, um, so yeah, so then I was like, you know what? Nobody wants to watch long videos during the summer. People take vacations, things like that. So I
Yeah.
wanted to make it short. So one prompt every weekday, all under 60 seconds, all solve a specific business
Yeah.
case. And so it started on June 24th, and it's going to end on the last weekday of the summer, which is September 20th. So still got two more weeks to
Oh,
go.
wow.
It's about 100 videos total that we did. We filmed them all 3 days. So
Oh,
I had a
wow.
really nice film crew with me. I had somebody that helps me with marketing, and they were my extras. So every video that we did in that plane, they were switching spots in some of them.
Did you say 100 videos in 3 days?
I mean,
Yes.
Wow, that's some serious shooting. You must have taken every single one first take.
No, unfortunately not. But it was very long days, and I also learned. I thought that acting and having, because at least we prepared most of the scripts before. I thought acting would be easy. I learned that it can be a lot of work. I really underestimated the work
I can vouch for that.
to act on camera and do all of those, especially that it's not all in order, right? A lot of them are in 5, 6 different scenes, and we had to optimize everything to get it done in 3 days, and then stitch it all together and be good in editing. So, yeah, I really underestimated how tough acting can be during those 3 days.
Nice.
I mean, all of it is quite difficult. When you see the finished product, which is, I mean, you've got them here. Your finished product is what, 30 seconds or so. And you've got to, first of all, get the content perfect. It has to be bang on. And yours is. It's great. And then the shots, like what angles you're getting in. And I love this with you sitting in the plane, like even hitting the disconnect switches and, like how everything just connects perfectly together. The extras in the background, like putting all of that together, you've got like 3 different scenes in 3 different shots in one ad. All that together, 22 seconds all in. And then it's like, okay,
Yep.
and another one. And
There's
another
a few
one,
of them that I was in
different
I was in the
outfits.
chair, and I basically had all the outfits with me. So I was like, okay, you guys switch place. I'll go change t-shirts. We'll be right back, and we'll restart. The camera doesn't move.
Now we know what you need to do to be a MVP since 2013, right?
Yep, rent a plane every year and do stuff on whatever Microsoft loves.
That's awesome effort.
There will be an official
big
behind the scenes
effort
that we're working on for the week after we end. So we're going to show a bit of the bloopers, of course, because that's the most fun part, as well as a bit of the how we made it, the plane, everything. So we are working on a bit of the behind the scenes, but it was quite an amazing experience. It was great, and I'm so happy that everybody loves the result.
Fantastic, mate. Well done. Well done. That's lifting the bar for everyone to kind of bring their A game.
It'll be, believe me, if I was lucky that I had a film crew with me. I think doing that without the film crew, so I had the people at Insight Video. I'm sure Adam, you've worked with Adam in the past, Adam King. He's at a lot of those Microsoft conferences. So I flew him and Andy, his colleague that does the editing. They were both there with me. So that definitely helped me a lot to be as productive in 3 days, because if I had to set up the camera, believe me, it wouldn't have been as pretty. So
oh yeah. I mean, the production quality on this is just epic. Well done again. So talking Copilot, one of the big talking points is always what actual productive uses can we expect from Copilot right away?
So
what have you
I think Copilot has its strengths. Copilot has its weaknesses. Okay, so first things that you can do that out of the box Copilot just does amazing is summarizing things, whether that is Word documents, PowerPoints, Outlook threads, meetings. Copilot does an amazing job at that out of the box. You just turn on the license, it can understand stuff. It's amazing. Where Copilot it takes a bit more time to get used to Copilot is when you want to create content. So if you ask Copilot to create content from scratch, then the problem is that most people don't know how to prompt Copilot yet. And not only about Copilot, about AI in general, right? I mean, Brad, Craig, you're both managers. You're used to delegating stuff to employees. And I'm sure if you learned something as you became a manager is the more details you give somebody that you want them to do a job for you, the more closer it will align to your expectations. And you probably learned that, I'm sure, in your life, again, as managers. You told people to do something and they came back with a complete disaster, everything except what you wanted. But it still probably fit what you ask them to do. Like create me a presentation about SharePoint. That's a very big subject. Uh, you might expect IT pro stuff. They come up with developer stuff. It's still a presentation about SharePoint.
Yeah.
Well, most people that use Copilot, they're individual contributors. They never managed people in their life. They're not used to delegating stuff. And having Copilot is a bit like having your intern. You have an intern by your side that is really good at doing stuff, but it's really dumb at the same time because you need to tell it exactly what you want it to do. And everything that you don't tell it, it will just assume it. So I think many people are having trouble getting Copilot to create things for them, whether that is presentations, Word documents, even drafting emails, because they're very generic. They're like, hey, individual contributors are really having troubles getting used to having AI create content for them because they cannot craft that prompt properly. And it's part of a fault of the tool of, well, part of the fault of the tool of Copilot as well as the user in a way. That's a bit the strengths and weaknesses. Again, summarizing stuff, Copilot's doing an amazing job. Transforming content, it's doing an amazing job. If you have a Word document, you want to make it a PowerPoint, or if you have a Teams meeting and you want to have, hey, write me the summary as an email, it will do that amazing because then it's super grounded in something very specific. But as soon as you go to the general knowledge part of Copilot, so you go into general knowledge, you don't point it to a document for it to be more specific in, if you're not very good with prompting, your result can be really, really bad. And let's be honest, we know the patience that people have those days. If they try 3 things and none of them work, they're completely going to hate that tool forever. Look how loved SharePoint was over the ages, right? You're not going to talk to many people that love SharePoint only because they had 1 or 2 bad experiences. And it's a bit the same thing with Copilot right now. If people try the first 5 things and it doesn't do a good job, well, they're going to stop using the tool, and that's bad for everybody.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense because we were watching the community call maybe about 2 months ago, and they had the tool that they've rolled out now for Prompt Buddy, where you can get prompts to help you through the process. So yeah, I'm sure that must be a massive problem out there if they're going to that kind of extent to roll out a Prompt Buddy for your organization.
Oh, it's
that's
definitely
exactly what I
something
was going
that's
to bring
needed.
up.
It's definitely something that's needed. Again, managers love AI tools because they know how to talk to, they know how to delegate. We need to get those individual contributors to know how to delegate as well, and that is part of the challenge today. And yeah, that prompt buddy tool definitely will help those people. Get used to it. At some point, you're not going to need that tool anymore because you get it. But to get started, it definitely helps a lot.
And so, there's quite a few co-pilots, and I find customers, what they're asking is, which co-pilot should we use? And can you tell us the difference across the board? For you, do you have a cheat sheet that you could guide people through, or do you have a quick kind of reference that you would use?
Sure. Well, yes and no. So, I'm not sure why you say there's a lot. There's only about 150 co-pilots out there. I'm not sure why you think that's a lot. Anybody can follow Microsoft and 150 co-pilots. No, I think the biggest mistake that people in our industry make, especially C-level people or people that are not as deep into the tech, is they say we have to use all of them. If not, we're going to stay behind. And everybody has to use all of the co-pilots. And then instead of starting with one, it becomes this whole big project of we have to learn 150 co-pilots. Why does Microsoft have so many and things like that? And it demoralizes people to know they have so many co-pilots. But in reality, everybody maybe needs to know a few of them. So there's a few that apply to everybody. You have Copilot in Bing, which is now called Microsoft Copilot. By the way, I'm not sure why they have Microsoft Copilot and then it's both a suite and a product, but we know Microsoft loves to rebrand things, so who knows for that how long that will be. But so you have Microsoft Copilot in Bing, that's for everybody. Copilot in Windows, that's for everybody. They're free to use. You don't even need a license. Everybody needs to use those. If you log in with an Entra ID account, you have enterprise data protection. So we saw the blog post about a month ago, or not even, where Microsoft said that if you have any Entra ID account, even if it's an E1 license, you get enterprise data protection in Copilot in Bing. So definitely start using that one. And then Copilot for Microsoft 365 applies to everybody, right? Because everybody has to write emails, everybody has to attend meetings. So those are the ones that everybody needs to use. Those apply to everybody. You need to train everybody on those. All the other copilots become specialty copilots, as I like to call them.
Okay.
I don't work in sales. Why would I need to know Dynamics 365 Sales Copilot? It doesn't help me. I don't do sales. I don't go in Dynamics every day. I don't need to learn that Copilot. If you're not a Power Platform app maker, why do you care about the Power Apps Copilot?
Yeah.
Yes, it's there, but it's there for people that build Power Apps, people that build Dataverse tables. People come to me, they're worried about, Vlad, I saw that I need to use Copilot to create tables in Dataverse and relationships, and I don't know any of that. I'm like, do you do that? No. Then why do you care? It's not Pokemons. You don't need to collect them all. Just use the ones that apply to your job. I don't use GitHub. I've never used GitHub Copilot.
Yeah.
I'm an IT pro. I'm not a dev. I don't. Well, as an IT pro, I need to make some jokes about devs. It's mandatory. So I'm an IT pro. I actually know how to write my scripts. I don't need AI or
There it is.
Where do I go and mute him?
But no, so I think that's the biggest thing that people get wrong is they look at the presentation with all the icons and all the copilots and they think that I need to learn them all or I need to train everybody in my company on all those copilots when that is not the case. You have a few basic copilots, yes, that everybody needs to learn. But after that, depends on your job role, depends on what you do. Not everybody needs to learn the Power Platform copilots, the Dynamics copilots, now that we're going to have them in Dynamics, the GitHub Copilot and all of that. Leave those for specialties that actually use those tools every day. So it's not as intimidating as it can be when you look at the slide with all the icons and everything.
I think that's great advice. And following on that, which is your most favorite specialty Copilot?
I do a lot of work in Power Platform. So I would have to say that Power Platform in Power Apps is probably my favorite Copilot. Not the creation experience. I don't really use that. But being able to add a Copilot to my app without just a drag and drop. Add a Copilot. Now, each one of my Power apps is Copilot enabled. People have their own Copilot grounded in the data of my app. And just having that with a drag and drop, that for me is purely amazing. It's like a 5-second time investment, and you unlock so much value by adding AI to your app at no additional cost. So that I have with, that's definitely my favorite.
Love it. Really cool. So we interviewed Michael Knoll last week, and he's obviously like yourself, a author, saying the author game now is kind of gone because everyone's creating books with AI, or the technology is changing so fast that it's very hard to keep up. And I know that you also have been involved a lot as an author, right? The SharePoint Unleashed series, etc. Are you still authoring at the moment?
I didn't pay you to say that for the record, Craig, but thank you.
No, you didn't.
Here comes the plug.
No, you know, the honest truth is that it was a lot easier back in the day, in the early 2000s when I wrote the first book. I think it was 2001. And over the years, I would write several books. And I did end up writing, I think, a total of 20 different ISBNs that that have my name on it. But the last one that I wrote was about 6 years ago, because back in the day, you would write, let's say you'd write something on SharePoint 2003. You could pretty much know that wasn't going to change for 5 years or so. Like if you install SharePoint 2003, it's going to act exactly like you've written it for the next 5 years until the next version comes out, until 2007 or something. And then you write a book on 2007. So it was much easier to write something that would be accurate. Nowadays, as you guys are probably familiar with, you do something, or you write some documentation on how to do something in SharePoint Online, and Microsoft moves the settings gear or something, or they change this and they've deprecated this feature and they've added this other feature. And so in some cases you've got, only a few weeks or a few months where there's, that things work the way that you expect them to. So we got to some point where it was just like, listen, this is, the days of these big books on one topic. It's not that they're completely gone, but if you look at the books that are out there today, it's mostly, to be blunt, it's mostly AI generated junk. so the people are publishing books on let's say SharePoint that are just, you can tell.
Are you finding the same with your authoring?
Yes and no. So yes, people are starting to create stuff with AI. That is granted. Even Microsoft Learn, if you take some of the Microsoft Learn courses for the exams, they do have some pages in which they say this page was generated by AI, but it was reviewed by a human. So even Microsoft is doing it on their own products, which, by the way, is kind of funny. But you can definitely see the difference in quality between something that was made by AI and something that was made by a human, because a human understands the bigger picture. In what order do I need to teach you things? How can I make things connect between something that I taught you at the beginning of the book and then build on that exact same scenario later towards the end of the book or course or whatever that medium of teaching might be. Whereas with AI, they're very individual things on, here's how you do this, here's how you do this, here's how you do this. They don't necessarily build on top of each other. They don't necessarily make sure that to learn the topic C, what do you need to know before? Did I teach you all the building blocks where you still need a lot of human intervention? And also, AI is still very confused, especially in the Microsoft Copilot world. You ask it to write about Copilot, a lot of the times it's going to teach you about GitHub Copilot, because that's the only one that's been there for a couple years now. So of course it has more knowledge about GitHub Copilot than any other Copilot, because that knowledge doesn't get refreshed every day. So chances are, if you ask stuff about Copilot, it will think GitHub Copilot is the only Copilot out there. And now that we add Salesforce Copilot, which I don't know why so many companies chose Copilot as a name for their AI tool. I think SEMrush has a Copilot, Salesforce has a Copilot. I've seen a few more Copilots out there. The AI can get confused as it merges the data from all of them. And sometimes you get some really, really funny results. Because of course, I tried to use AI for some of my things. Does it do a better job than me? Can I use it to save time? And most of the time, it was more confused than anything, especially on the latest topics.
Yeah. I'm having a look at your Plural site courses here, and I was wondering, you can't really, Copilot's not going to be able to redo that for you, because you're teaching something new here. And
yeah, so I have like 7 Plural site courses on Copilot now, everything from image generation to Copilot in Teams, Excel, OneNote, all of that. Again, I feel like the knowledge is there. I didn't create anything new, right? At the end, we all have access to Microsoft documentation and trying things out.
Yeah.
The big difference as well between a human learner and, a good human trainer and AI is that we try things out. And as Microsoft professionals, we all know there's usually a big difference between documentation and real life. There's a lot of things that work in documentation and a lot of things that work in Microsoft marketing videos that don't actually work in real life.
Yeah.
AI is not able to figure that out because its only source of truth is that documentation
Yeah.
on Microsoft Learn. So if Microsoft Learn has an error, everything you create with AI will have the same error because it cannot test things out. It cannot go in Copilot and say, hey, Microsoft says this works, but it doesn't. I'll give you a really good example. I'm not sure if you remember when Microsoft first launched Copilot, one of the examples they were giving is, hey, change the font of this presentation. They had quite a few videos that never actually worked. It still doesn't work today, by the way.
Yeah.
Going in PowerPoint Copilot and asking it to change the font of a presentation doesn't work.
Okay.
You ask AI that, of course it will say it works. Look, it's in videos, it's on the web.
Yeah.
The source exists.
Yeah.
So I do think that people will need to be more careful as they select the materials they spend time learning and try to see, was this made by AI? Was this made by a human? Because you need to be able to trust the material that it works. You don't want to waste time learning stuff and then realizing, hey, this doesn't actually work.
I've learned the hard way that trying to code with Copilot, not specifically Copilot, but one of the AI platforms, it starts to hallucinate commandlets. And it goes, this commandlet exists. And you're like, this does not exist, but like, stop using it. And then it will be like, okay, no problem. And then 2 prompts later, it throws that commandlet back in. And I'm like, where you show me your reference as to where you're getting this. And then it will go to some random YouTube video. And I'll be like, that is incorrect. That does not exist.
Or we'll take stuff from on-prem and then say, oh, looks like so many commandlets from on-prem and online, they just add an O in the middle and they just pushes an O in the middle of the commandlet. That should work for you.
Yeah.
It's logical, but it doesn't work like that in real life. And again, maybe we'll get there at some point, but I don't think for the next 1-2 years, we'll get to replace humans with AI in terms of training quality at all.
Well, not even training. I think anything that we're generating with AI, it still needs a human to look over it, check it. Even the code, the amount of incorrect code. I've been doing a lot of PMP PowerShell of late, and the old code that it throws you that just doesn't work. And you need someone to actually realize that this is the problem and work through the troubles.
The PNP is a great example of a module that kept the same name but changed a lot over the years. And that confuses AI because it doesn't always look at the latest, or the latest information is not necessarily as in bigger quantity as the old one.
Yeah.
So the PNP one is a very good example of stuff that AI will probably not do as good.
Yeah. I mean, I found that out today even. I was busy deploying something and I'm like, why? You can't use this. And it was like, no, you can't. You can. This is the latest one. I'm like, when did you last read this? And it's like 6 months ago. It's like, oh, but you're out of date.
Yeah. That module changes a lot.
I think a new release was yesterday, wasn't it? Or the day before that.
They do daily releases. It's crazy. The nightly updates, and I think every month a brand new module. But yeah, it's amazing that they evolve it that fast. But again, it takes a human to keep up to date with it.
I wanted the Viva graphs. I sent you that mail, Craig, about the Viva graphs in PNP that I wanted. And then I was trying to get Copilot to tell me about it, and it was like, nada. I was like, oh, okay.
But I think that's also where customizing Copilot will come into play. And that topic is a bit in its infancy. I'm actually building a series now with Sebastian Levert. I'm sure you know him. We started off recording a series. It should start actually next week on customizing Copilot for Microsoft 365 and what's the difference between a plugin, an extension, a connector, a custom Copilot, and all of those things. And how do you customize Copilot to do something specific for you? I think we are going to see a ton more companies realize that we just can't have the generic Copilot. We have to train it on data that matters to us. So you could create a plugin that plugs in directly on the PNP data, on the latest documentation, and forget anything else on the internet. Just look at the PNP data. And this time when you ask it, it will always look at the latest data in real time for every question that you ask it. So I really think that's where companies are not there yet. I would say that maybe, I don't know how many companies have Copilot in percentages. Microsoft doesn't share that, but I'm sure out of them, only 5 to 10% of them maybe have started customizing Copilot, creating their own Copilots and things like that. I think that's when they reach that maturity level and realize, hey, we need to have specialized Copilots. That's where a lot of value and a lot more value will be there for end users, because they'll have power of AI, but only on certain data that they know is true. And not only older Microsoft 365 tenants, but maybe 5 site collections. Maybe, or sites, sorry, we're not supposed to call them site collections anymore. Or external database or one website that Copilot looks at for information. So I do think that is the future a bit of Copilot adoption, having specialized Copilots.
Yeah, we
We're
actually
seeing that a
built
lot.
that for regulation. So Craig made a Digital Operations Resilience Act chatbot. So it pulls the latest regulation from EU, and then we can ask it questions like, are we in violation if we run this? And it's like, yep, based on this section, this. So that specific data set is huge, because, I mean, how many, over 2,000 pages of regulation, you're like, no, I'm not going to read that. And I want to ask a quick question, and then it breaks it down for you perfectly well. I mean, that's a great use case.
Yeah, and again, if
Yeah,
you
and
let that open to the web, you'd ask the same question, you get 10 different answers, because every blogger has a different
It's got a
interpretation.
different,
So
no,
you
absolutely.
want to lock it in only on the official source to make sure you're always up to date.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of customers at the moment utilizing or asking us to utilize Azure Search to do specific indexes for them to get data. And yeah, I agree with you. I think that's just going to be a growing area.
Yeah, but right now it's still in the infancy. It's still a few things that are going to be released this year. I'm sure Ignite is going to be a big part of the evolution of how we customize Copilot in the future.
Yeah, when you can just click a button and point it at a web page, then we're sorted for finding information. You can do it in the Copilot, but when you're trying to set it up in Azure OpenAI, it's a whole different story. So,
Hey,
yeah.
Copilot in SharePoint will be able to do that. I say will because we've seen the preview, and that's actually episode 3 in the series that we're doing with one of the devs on that team, where you can just, click Create Copilot, point it to a site, a library, or 5 documents, and then give it some instructions. Hey, end every sentence with a joke, or you're a policy Copilot, be super serious, don't add any jokes, things like that. And within 5 clicks, you did your own Copilot grounded on data you specified. So we're getting there faster than I think most people imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't Microsoft buy all the NVIDIA chips that then some countries have? So they're training like there's never been before.
Yeah, I mean, as an NVIDIA stockholder, I'm happy, and I encourage Microsoft to keep buying all the chips.
Don't open your stock price today, bud. You won't be happy about it.
Well, we'll see. Maybe I might regret this. I mean, yesterday it was minus 10%, so I can make jokes about it today.
I was like, bounce. It's going to bounce.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could carry on, but I know we only have a few minutes left. Or we don't even have a few minutes left. Your big predictions for what's happening on the Office 365 stack?
Ooh, on the Office 365 stack.
Anything that we should watch out for that is coming in the roadmap, or anything specific?
I mean, I think right now you have half of Microsoft that is going to do new AI capabilities. So, we're going to get a lot more new copilots. The copilots we have are going to add more features. And the other half is working on the basics. Like we've seen in Teams recently, renaming the general channel. For how many years have we been asking for this? To rename the general channel. But what I think will happen, I'll give a prediction that I know nothing about. So, as an MVP, the more I know about stuff, the least I can talk about them. So I'll give a prediction about something I know nothing about, just in case. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in architecture in the way things were done before, things that were normal, whether it's Teams channels, SharePoint sites, how to build a SharePoint page. I think a lot of things were done in a certain way to deliver it fast. And now with the scale of things that we have, where organizations have hundreds of thousands of SharePoint sites, and you cannot move a channel from a team to another, I think we're going to have some revisits of the architecture in many of the things that we considered. This is how it works. This is how it will be forever. I think we're going to see some changes there, whether it's SharePoint, Teams, other tools like that. I think we're really going to see some changes there that IT pros will need to adapt to. Again, I love that I know nothing official about this, so I can predict it, but I do hope a few of them will happen.
Are you saying that my classic SharePoint site's going away?
I think classic SharePoint and SharePoint Designer and InfoPath will outlive many of us. I did help a customer with a SharePoint 2010 farm the other day. They're migrating a farm from one domain to another and needed help with a PowerShell script to migrate users. SharePoint 2010.
Yeah,
So,
we're still occasionally getting requests for InfoPath, so it's still there.
It should be outlawed, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no. When I stop seeing InfoPath on job requirements, then we'll maybe call it a success. But I don't think that'll happen anytime soon.
No, there's still people out there that need help with it. It is what it is. It was a fantastic product when it was around. It has been, and guys have just like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but it deserved its retirement. It worked hard for 10 years. Now it can go live a peaceful life and not work again.
I can remember Joel Olsen at a Vegas conference walking around in a hoodie and having a bell and ringing death to InfoPath
that was
10 years ago.
That was 2014. That was my first SharePoint conference. I was there.
That was 10 years ago. And so, if we're still talking about it,
InfoPath is the zombie. It will never die.
It's got that long half-life.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe in the next 10 years.
We'll catch up in 10 years and see how things have gone.
If the data is still in Copilot, it's still going to be used.
Yeah. That's it.
Imagine Copilot is actually just a bunch of SharePoint Designer workflows in the back.
Yeah. The ugly truth. SharePoint Designer.
SharePoint 2010 workflows, yeah.
Of course. Those were the best ones.
Yeah.
Vlad, it's been fantastic catching up with you. Thank you so much for spending time with us and answering our questions. I see recently, well, not as recently, but you've taken up a role as the technology evangelist at Syskit. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun working with them, and I'm creating content for the community. That's my job. So whatever people tell us they want an article on or a video on, I do it. It's free there on the web. So it's amazing, and I love the team there.
Yeah, we'll send you some suggestions as we see them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you both again, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Unfortunately, not in South Africa this year.
Look forward to Johannesburg in January.
Crossing my fingers that I'll get selected.
Very warm time to go safari, just saying.
As long as the animals are there, I'll be happy.
Yeah, we'll be there. Vlad, thank you so much. Can't wait to see the rest of your Copilot pictures. and videos.
And
Thank
safe
you.
travels
Bye-bye.
for the season.
Thank you so much. And again, maybe I'll see. Maybe if plans change, I'll see one of you or both of you, hopefully, at one of them.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Vlad.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.